You're up, Denny.
Yes. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to introduce us.
Oh, I
Hi.
will. Good morning, everybody. We're just waking up, apparently. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Uh, Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in this wonderful, beautiful world. I hope you're at peace and safe. We got a great company on today. We got Chachi, who is, I think, CEO of a company that's spelled Uila, but it's pronounced Uila. And Uila is fairly new in the industry. I mean, they've been around about 3.5, 4 years, but they just really brought their technology about. I guess it was about a year and a half, 2 years we started talking about it. And in virtualized data centers, it's essential to have full visibility. And believe it or not, SDN doesn't solve all your problems. So this is what Uila does. They are the people that can make your virtualized world solvable, salient, and visible. So Chachi, and also by the way, we got of course Denny Mew, our consummate host, and keeps all of us out of trouble. And then we got our great friend Paul Alford at Advanced Seven over in UK, who's patiently wiggling around waiting for his the phone call that his daughter has delivered a grandchild to him. So Paul, congratulations before it occurs.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Please don't faint.
I won't.
If we do, we have people in UK that can call 911 and get to you very quickly, or 999, excuse me. Uh,
999. Yeah.
so I've known Chachi on and off for years, but I know a lot of the other people in Wheela, and these are a great ethical group of people. There's not a lot of companies I can say that about. And when they say they do something, I can guarantee you they do it, and if they don't do it right, they'll fix it. This is a great company. And if you are in the virtualized world trying to run virtual data centers, these are people you should be talking to. So, Chachi, take it away, and we're going to let you tell us about what's going on. And I heard you got some good news just this week at a show.
Yeah, hey, Tim, thank you very much for the introduction. Danny, Paul, thank you for joining us. This is Chachi Kwan. Tim, is this a place where I should share my screen?
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about what just recently happened at the show?
Sure. So I am broadcasting and participating in this broadcast from Las Vegas. This is VMworld. This is the largest show for VMware as a company and for VMware and also private cloud, hybrid cloud customers going into this show, about 20, 30,000 people. So we're there and we're basically bringing the networking technology and pitching it to say, hey, virtualization, data center management, you guys been missing the benefits, many of the benefits that networking industry has been enjoying, including network packet analysis, application visibility. You really need to bring that into your virtualization world. That's been our central theme. And we deliver the product to bridge all these data center management, application, and networking all together in one solution. We deliver that as our story to VMworld this week. And we're fortunate enough, we were selected the finalist for the Best of VMworld award by Tech Target. So we're excited for a young company like us getting this level of kind of recognition. Really tells us the application-centric IT, leveraging networking technology for virtualization and hybrid cloud management really is a trend, and it is something that people recognize and agree with.
That's pretty interesting. And you know, when people talk about winning awards, a lot of times it's kind of confusing about, well, why did you win an award? So what would you say the most important part of your product or technology that made you so visible to the people there and and allowed you to win that award?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for this awards, the judges are community guys that really are participating highly in the virtualization world, hybrid cloud, private cloud, VMware, Hyper-V, and AWS type of experts from the community. They are handpicked secretly by Tech Target that do this every year for like about 400 participants. And what they're looking at is real world application to see whether what you do really apply to the real world. Does it really address real world issue? And the real world issue today is a trend for application, right? We already know the application is important, but there is always infrastructure layer, infrastructure staff So the trend that challenges the industry is, there's IT challenges at the infrastructure layer, there's application challenges at the application layer, yet these two worlds need to work together, especially going into hybrid cloud or public cloud. The infrastructure layer gets thinner. So the application-centric theme getting stronger and stronger. So we're kind of being noticed to provide that gap between the two worlds, to bring the IT infrastructure focused people who used to be only have visibility into infrastructure, whether that's compute, storage, or networking. We bring them much closer into application as it should be, right? For both the benefit of the company and also for the career of the IT infrastructure staff. You need to be application aware to catch up with the trend and what's needed out there in the world.
Now, you make a great point. People forget that, and I think it's becoming more and more. Paul, you can speak to this, is you don't want to be the guy that has on your resume, you worked for ABC company just before they had a major breach and you didn't recognize it, and therefore you're now looking for another job. You want to always have that visibility, because if you can't see it, you're not going to know what's going on, and you're certainly not going to know when you got problems or a breach or security leaks, whether it's a drip or not. So Chachi put together kind of a presentation, and if you want to do that, Chachi, it's up to you. Paul, you have a question or anything right now?
Tim, it would be like having your resume that says that I was in Houston in August and I didn't bring an umbrella.
Now, I got a phone call yesterday from my son and daughter-in-law, and they were just about having to evacuate their home that was within a block of them, but thank goodness the tide turned and they didn't have to evacuate, but they were certainly some fearful moments there. So, yeah, I know. I was born and raised in Houston. So,
go ahead, Chachi. You were going to do a screen sharing?
Yeah, let me screen share. In the meanwhile, any question, welcome. Love the conversation.
Hey, Paul, do you know anything about Uila? Do you know anything about the company?
I don't, but I do recognize the challenges. So I think the days, as Chachi was saying, I think the days of network engineers operating in isolation, just worrying about packets traveling between two ports on different switches, I think those days have gone. If you don't understand why you're shifting packets around your network and some of the higher layer protocols like TCP and then going up into the stack, I think you're going to find yourself being redundant quite quickly, because if you look at the provisioning technology that's coming along now, some of this stuff you see from Riverbed, I'm not sure any of those traditional network skills are going to be needed so much. I think you will still need specialists, but it's not going to be where you need the army of network engineers to operate a network. And I think that network engineers, as I said, have ignored the application to a large extent, and they need to get much more attuned to the delivery of the application.
I'm
not talking complete rubbish.
No.
Europol sent out a notice and said that 92% of applications in Europe are either breachable or have been breached. And that's a very poor statistic.
Yeah, okay, so there's a security aspect as well. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
But I mean, if the applications are broken, I don't care how good your network is. And there seems to be this damn huge wall between the people that are operating the functionality of the network and the people that are trying to make the network do something that makes money for the company. And I concur, Paul, is what I'm saying. I just did it differently. Go ahead, Chachi. We're sorry.
Go ahead, Chachi.
No, this is great. This is definitely to the story that we want the world to hear. So thank you for helping us with that. So we already talk about our company background. So we're there for about 4 years, 2 years on the market. The theme is for the company is exactly as Paul, you and Tim and Danny, you mentioned. We want the deep packet analysis and networking expertise, even though today the data center issue, application issue no longer resides, or at least not majorly resides in networking anymore. But the networking folks, networking technology still has the deepest application knowledge in terms of visibility into it, which are not possessed by the infrastructure or data center virtualization guys. There are certainly application engineers that use tools like AppDynamic, New Relic, Dynatrace, or even some of the Riverbed software at the APM level. But those are really for the application developers, application owners. For the infrastructure guys, I think considering infrastructure for virtualization, for CPU, memory storage, and networking, the networking guy has the deepest application visibility. We really are having the theme or having the thought and vision to bring that capability into the entire data center management scenario. So let me jump quickly to the next slide, which I can also very quickly skip because you guys pretty much agree and told the story already. We see application is getting more and more attention. And it's not that they don't have their challenges. Application, what we hear the most about is even the application owner, after a few years, they don't even know how their multi-tier application is being put together. The biggest story that I heard in VM world this week is a lot of companies are trying to move their workload, their application from private cloud to the public cloud. As they try to move it, they don't know their web server depends on which authentication server, which database server, which ERP, which Salesforce.com services, or anything like that. The application dependency and knowing their own application, how it's put together, is a challenge. So plus, they don't even know what other application is running in their data center, forget about how to move it to the public cloud, right? So application got application challenges. And the IT folks, we are on the IT side, whether we manage application server or networking on the virtual or physical side, we're always busy, we're short of budget, short of resources, schedules tight, and troubleshooting. Boy, is troubleshooting a prolonged process, especially when it involves application. So we got all these issues, but more and more what we're seeing is we need to work together with the application team. Right, so that is really important, and application is the focus for the entire IT department, for the application team, and also for the CIO to drive business. So our story really is consolidate the two world. And it's not that we don't have tools. I'm sure there are. The name of the TV is Love My Tool. So there are so many tools. You guys know about it. We see tools, we simplified it, we put it in three categories, right? There's application level tool, APM. There's a virtualization layer, virtual infrastructure performance management tool, and infrastructure tool for compute, storage, and networking. We see all these tools out there, and we think it's great to have those tools. The challenge is that each tool is a silo and great for the staff who is responsible for that silo. However, the challenge is when there are application availability issues, troubleshooting issues, performance issues that need to find out the root cause, these tools don't correlate very well. And a lot of times, IT department or application or for the company, you don't have enough budget to buy tools for each individual silos. And even if you do, these tools don't talk to each other, even though they may be coming from the same company. They still don't talk to each other at the different layer, not enough correlation. So these are the challenges that we see. So we see the gap between the application layer to the infrastructure and also the gap between virtual and infrastructure. Therefore, we see the market opportunity for delivering a solution such as what we do. So what do we do, right? We're Uila, and we are again, to repeat it for the fourth time, we want to bring the networking visibility, networking technology, which include deep packet analysis, into the application layer. The technology, the benefit the networking industry has enjoyed for decades, right? We want to bring that into the entire data center performance and visibility management. So we make networking, whether it's virtual or physical, still very, very relevant to data center management, whether that is hybrid cloud or is it private cloud or public cloud. With the networking side, which exists in public cloud as well, infrastructure role is still very strong in there because with networking, we can bring in application visibility, importantly, for the infrastructure staff. We know the application guys always have their application visibility, but we want to bring that visibility to the infrastructure guys so we can work together. So how do we do that, and what do we do so unique that can be, complementary to all the tools that you already have to the tool belt? So we condense it down to 3 points. We can, with a single product, we do full stack visibility. That is, when we mean full stack, that means from end user experience monitoring, application service availability monitoring, application performance response time monitoring, to virtualization monitoring, to physical and virtual CPU, memory, storage, and very importantly, networking monitoring, all in one solution, one product with full correlation altogether. That's what we think is the holy grail, and you can be the judge later on to see how we deliver that. And basically, from the judges, from the VM world, we are getting some attention from the industry and from the judges of the community of data center management. So that's number one thing that we do. Number two that I mentioned earlier on, troubleshooting application performance takes a long time. You're probably on the suffering end for quite some time. And we deliver a solution that has very granular precision. So we can see application response time, network response time, and we can correlate that to CPU memory storage to millisecond precision. So we can do application troubleshooting with just a few clicks. In the old days, you have to do manual data comparison and correlation. That's why it takes so long. Thinking about your ERP, SAP application goes really slow, and you don't know, is it an application issue, CPU issue, memory issue, or storage performance issue? Plus, it could also be networking issue. Where do you even start, right? And then we being a solution with full stack visibility, if we're doing our job right, we should be able to correlate that automatically for you and tell you your ERP application goes down or goes slow yesterday at 3 p.m. is, for example, due to your storage I/O being very slow and due to I/O operations congestion, or you're dropping packet as your virtual switch, right? So that's the thing that we do very uniquely. And lastly is giving people the application visibility. We do discovery and dependency really, really well. And that is giving the biggest visibility, not only to the full stack visibility, but the application level intelligence. Even the application owner many times do not enjoy this capability. That's being enjoyed by application or networking industry for years. So let me pause a little bit. I should bullet fast. Yes, any questions?
Your slide hasn't changed, Chachi. Which are you?
I think Chachi is pausing for comment. Chachi, one of the things I'd like to ask is, are there particular challenges in implementing your solution in, say, an Azure or AWS environment?
Right, exactly. So this brings me to the next slide. How do we actually deploy our solution? How does it really work, right? Especially in AWS or in the other environment. So I'm showing a architecture diagram with a cloud. Hopefully that shows up on everybody's screen.
Yes,
it does.
Okay, great. So Paul, so to answer your question, it gets down to how do we collect data? How do we tap into the networking packets, right? So in the private cloud, so this particular architecture, this is private cloud. Let me make sure that I can still be heard or hear you guys. Are we okay?
Yeah, we're good. And I can see it's a private cloud. Yeah.
Okay. So in the private cloud, we use our own, if you will, you guys know the term virtual tap. So we use our own virtual machine that taps into the virtual switch in your VMware, Hyper-V, Microsoft environment, that we do that. And then from there, we'll sniff up packet. So each hypervisor will have one of our virtual tap. And the virtual tap does not send the traffic out to anywhere. It's just analyze it, get the metadata, get the statistic right there and then. So we don't reproduce the traffic to incur additional double the networking traffic volume, but we just reduce it down to metadata. And we send to our controller, and in turns, our controller correlate that data and also collect virtual infrastructure information such as CPU, memory, storage information from VMware environment or OpenStack environment or from Hyper-V from Microsoft environment, all these virtualization environment, and then we correlate that, baseline it, and send it to our database. Right. So this is how we do.
And Docker containers and things like that?
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. We just did our first technology demo for Docker container. So in the container world, how we do it differently is that instead of implemented our virtual smart traffic tap as a virtual machine, we implement it as a container.
Right. Okay.
Right. So the basic functionality is still deep packet analysis that Paul, you know so well, right? 7-layer decode. And what we do extraordinarily well is we understand 2,700 application protocols, and we can get the metadata into the record and then pull it out for you when necessary, such as VDI, Lotus Notes of the traditional one, database, web services, certainly. And we do all that for you.
That must take some considerable compute power, because if you've got real-time traffic streaming out of these taps and you're going to dissect them, extract the metadata, and then store it, that's quite a challenge.
Exactly, exactly. So that's certainly a challenge. What we do there is we do distributed model. So a particular tab only process a packet in that hypervisor. But to your point, even within that hypervisor, say it was 20 VM, they are all application servers, 20 application servers, it could still consume a lot of CPU power to process the packet. So we have worked it down in our deployed production data center. We have seen our virtual smart traffic tap, it takes up to 3 to 5% of physical CPU cycle to process the packet. So to a lot of data center, that is something the price they are willing to pay. And what they are unwilling to pay is, for example, if the traffic tap were to stream the traffic out to the controller to do centralized data processing or packet processing, the network utilization increase is something that they are unwilling to pay the price for.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of the things that I'm sorry, Paul, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
I was just going to say, one of the things everybody complains about with the virtual world is sprawl and, zombies and all these different connections coming in. This looks like this would be able to give you a good view of and be able to stop a lot of that VM sprawl. Because that seems to be like the number one concern everybody tells me about is as soon as they put a VM world together, things pop up here and we get zombie sites, and this looks like that'd give it a great visualization and be able to actually look and say, hey, what is this doing here? What's this operation here?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what we do, so about that visualization, is perfect time for me to jump into how we do that visualization. So hopefully you can see my dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is how we visualize. As you see on our dashboard, we see application, network, CPU, memory, storage, and then we can go back in time or do the current time, right? So Tim, to your point, how do we see this kind of visualization? If it's all green, that means good, but at least if it's something that's even yellow and then use a lot of resources, or it's a VM sprawl, you see a lot of VMs, not only they are there being a zombie, but if they especially they take resources, they'll jump up on you like this, right? Especially to the area where you are pretty red, you have issues, then that's even worse, right? For example, this particular time period, you got application that's all red. For example, this application, and you see D packet at work, right? This particular VM, you see it serves MySQL, HTTP, TCP, and SSH, and MySQL is orange color, and also have a lot of transaction. This is an indication you want to troubleshoot into it.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we provide value to our customer is not just directly show you the root cause. We certainly do that, and I'll demonstrate that. But one part of it, the big application visibility story that I talk so much about, is exactly this one that I'm showing you. This is what we call the application analytics, application analysis, or dependency mapping. Let me put it to full screen so we can see this more clearly. So we automatically generate application mapping, dependency mapping for our customer. What it does, it recognizes either virtual machine or physical servers, and then put them together because we know who's talking to who and under what protocol. So in this particular example, we recognize a load balancer, application load balancer. Behind it, we see two virtual machines. We saw the name being WebLogic 11G S1 and S2. These are just the name that your virtualization engineer named those virtual machines. But as you move your mouse over it, will give you the ultimate answer, because these answers in the pop-up box are as a result of our deep packet analysis. We show you this particular virtual machine serve HTTP and performance is yellow-gray. So some performance issue already. And it also serves RSS and SSH, which are having green level performance, right? So this type of visibility, who's dependent on who, is already very important. And also, more importantly, is you see a third layer, third tier of applications, dependencies. That seems to be, from the name of it, is Oracle something or MySQL something, seems to be database. And also, this Oracle 11G N1 is red, meaning application performance is not so well, which maybe trigger this guy to be yellow, right? So I'm very focused on this guy, which is red level. And as a result of deep packet analysis, we're able to say, this is serving MySQL and lots of traffic, lots of application MySQL transactions. And then it doesn't perform very well. 490 milliseconds of application response time, much, much slower than our auto-learned baseline that we established for you. So this is kind of one thing that we really want you to drill down into for root cause. And what we do well, yes.
And Chashi, one of the things that I know the NSA and a lot of companies, especially with all the new security concerns, of course, sprawl is one of the big issues because they pop up in zombies and you don't know who's sharing data. But this looks like this would give you a good dependency graph or chart. So, so when you're looking for security issues, you know who's looking at what data, who has access to what server. Because I know the NSA and a bunch of the no-name companies out there, the alphabet soup companies, have backed away from a lot of virtual applications because it is, let's say, full of holes right now because they don't have a consolidated view. And this looks like this could really give you that, consolidated view. Who's doing what, who's talking to who's got access to that server, etc.
Absolutely. Thank you for that point, Tim. That's really an important point. That's the power of analytics. So for one example, to your point, to what you just said, is this kind of the normal operation topology and dependency should be like this. What we are able to do is, for example, at a different time, right? If I move my time slider to a different time period, you will see this application dependency completely changed during a different time, right? So in some cases, some new things happens that is against your whitelist topology that you used to have. So what we allow people to do is you can lock down your whitelist. Say, for example, if this is your whitelist, then if anything new happens, for example, the WebLogic, two WebLogic servers never talk to each other, and all of a sudden one day they start to talk to each other, and then we can give you an alert and show you they actually started to talk and graphically show you. Let me do one, flip back to my slide very quickly. There's one very interesting slide that I do want to show you to emphasize, to repeat your point, Tim, about this. That is this particular slide where people really do care about their dependency changes. And we're able to troubleshoot all, sorry, my screen went dark. So if hopefully you can see this, not very big picture. Let me go do full screen. Hopefully it doesn't went dark on us.
It worked.
That's a little bigger.
That's great.
Okay. So for example, in this case, if on the left-hand side, this is your normal operation at this time period, then we will lock it down. And one day, if it becomes like this particular graph on the right-hand side during this time period, it certainly is different. And there are new connection, new VM shows up. We can do a delta for you and showed up the new connection, new nodes. And then these are all alerts for your security guys or even change control, IT staff. They don't want application topology, application dependency to change without their knowledge. So we're doing 24/7 monitoring for them on this type of thing. It is a great and easy way to lock down your data center or communication for, more importantly, team, again, to your point, security purposes.
You know, that's the number one complaint or concern about virtualization in a security environment. And security environment today includes almost any business, because no one wants their business breached or leaked or siphoned out. And that's one of the biggest concerns about VMware is its visibility or lack of visibility and lack of a dependency recognition. So
right.
Do you sell this as a product, or do you sell this as a service, or do you do both?
Right. This is a product. We do cloud-based services. It's just a software as a service in our cloud. So server can be sitting in our environment. So primarily we're a product company, software-only solution. So that's what we do.
Chachi, can you exit from your screen sharing? Maybe we could have some discussion and then try to close the show. So
sure, certainly.
We can make this a 30-minute show.
Right, no problem. Let me do that right now. Go back to my browser. If you allow 10 more seconds, one more thing is root cause analysis. You click on MySQL here, we bring you to root cause right away. So I just want to show the screen that we show application response time. Root cause is your storage, not your dependent service. If you don't believe it, here are the application transaction with slow application response time. Very quickly, we drill down to any layer you wish. So these are correlated full stack data. I would just put it on screen for everybody. So let me stop sharing right here. So screen share.
Excellent. Thank you.
Back in the room.
All right. Cool.
Any additional comments and questions from you, Paul?
Yeah, I had 3. No, I've got 4. Sorry. First one is, does encryption present a particular problem, Chachi? Because obviously deep packet inspection is quite difficult if you've got a lot of encryption.
Sure. Sure. So to that, sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so encryption, we certainly don't do decryption yet, and people probably don't want us to do decryption. So the way that we are servicing encrypted packets or proprietary homemade application is such that we still recognize application response time. So as you see, previously we say MySQL going slow, we put out the transaction metadata for you. So if it is homemade application or encrypted traffic, we will still light it up red because its application response time still we can detect. What's going to be missing is the metadata for the transaction query and response will be empty there. We still get to know who's the client, who's the server, response time, what time it happens, and transaction volume. All that information is still there.
I'm familiar with that technique because last year I wrote, it's actually live in Wireshark now, called Transum, and that works in the same sort. If it can read the data, it will read it, but if it's encrypted, it just looks at request response pairs and treats them as transactions. So I had was around your virtual tap technology. What happens if the machine gets vMotion somewhere else? You're familiar with DRS? Yeah.
Yes. So we ourselves don't get vMotion around. So during our deployment, we have the communication to the virtualization platform to lock ourselves onto the hypervisor. As the application server itself get vMotion to other hypervisor, we track it. So we'll follow it. So application response time we'll follow that application server without disruption.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, good. And do you have any particular approach to dealing with thin client traffic like ICA and RDP? Because that's notoriously difficult to analyze from a performance perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of VDI customers using Citrix or VMware Horizon View. So we don't particularly analyze VDI infrastructure, but we analyze, for example, particular authentication if happening there, we will see that. The very common problem we see in VDI are two. One is storage usage. In the classroom environment, all these virtual desktop comes up, they all do one thing all together, they access storage all at the same time. So storage many times becomes the bottleneck. So we are able to find a lot of root cause for our customer on the storage side. The second part is on the CPU resource side, where the one professor is doing an analytics project that his virtual desktop take 100% of the CPU for 3 days on, and we're able to spot that very well. And the third one, which is a distant third, is authentication delay, the setup time, which we do see. That we provide a lot of value. We have case study for VDI environment, how we provided value. That is a very interesting, a very popular virtualization application.
Okay.
Well, you bring up some great points. One thing, Chachi, that as you go through the internet, you see people talking about VM. You got all these people that come up with, these are the problems that we see, the top 5 problems we see in the VM world, hypervisor world, whatever. And I think you guys ought to take a look at that and show how your product solves those top 5 or top 8 or whatever.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Because that's where people, what's the old adage? The last thing you hear that's negative is the last thing you want to hear. And Paul gets to see all this in real time when he goes out and tries to fight problems. Don't you, Paul? You get a lot of fun trying to do that. And
yeah, sure.
Yeah, and those, really, when you start looking at VM in the hypervisor world, the virtual world, there are a pretty specific set of, I'm going to say 10 or less major issues for general companies. But then when you start looking at people that handle sensitive data, especially Europe now has a new standard, Paul, and you guys might take a look at that and say, this is how we can help you fit those security requirements or standards, because even with the best of tools, there's still, we're still having more breaches and more data leaks than ever this year, not just domestically but worldwide, and that's because we don't have visualization. And Paul, you see a lot of that, right? When you go in, does everybody you go in and say, oh, we got total visualization, we can see everything?
No, they don't. And just as Chachi said, they often don't know what the data flows are in a system, because the system was architected by a project team that's long since gone. So you find that the support teams are supporting the technologies in their silos, but they've got very little understanding of the end-to-end operation of the system.
Right.
And that was always a problem with legacy systems because they tended to bolt things together. So they've got one system, they build another one, and then they think, oh, let's join the two together. And then nobody really understands how the end-to-end system works. Now, I thought that would go away, but actually it's not. People are building systems that they simply don't know how they work. Well, certainly the operations teams don't.
Yeah, the application sometimes winds up being just a stamp on the letter. We don't know what's inside it, but we put a stamp on it, we'll send it. They don't really understand where it's going. And of course,
yeah,
I know you go into every customer, Paul, and they have a total network map, right?
No, yeah. No.
That's always my favorite question. In fact, do you have a network map? And then everybody just leaves. Everybody's got to go to the bathroom all of a sudden, or go get coffee. So this looks like that kind of eliminates that first, situation. We can show you because we got Uila.
Yeah, in fact, it may have value just in its documentation value alone.
Absolutely, yes.
Yep. And that's an essential. Now, when I go in for forensics, and there's been a breach or there's been a concern or a data leak or an employee's misappropriated data, the VM world is a lot easier to steal data. So this would really help going back and document that at this time and this date, this guy was connected to this server, and That's where we held the confidential information. How did he get in there? Why is he in there? Etc. And so this looks like this would be a great thing. And I think you guys you got a great product.
I think actually that might be addressed with other things, but I think where it would work is the thing that you raised earlier, which is if someone manages to breach a particular server, then starts doing lateral movements across, SSHing into the machine next to them, which is traffic that wouldn't be there, then a solution, that Uila can offer is, we've suddenly spotted that somebody's, remote shelling or something between two machines, which isn't a normal traffic pattern.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's again, Chachi, every product, I don't know of anybody that's ever designed a perfect product right out of the door for two reasons. One, the minute you release it, the industry's changed a little bit, but also you're constant refining. When we talked to you guys last year, you were in that mode of constant refinement. So sounds like you got a great product, Paul. I mean, thumbs up, thumbs down, sideways, what?
No, it looks good. It looks really interesting. Yeah, it
does.
Well, I hate to close such a great conversation, but let me do that by inviting Chachi back, and maybe next time Chachi could talk about some of the use case, some of the.
Absolutely.
I noticed on your website you have a lot of testimonial from customers. I think it really helps to tell the story and helps the audience to really understand the benefit of the product by knowing how some of the peers use it to solve the problem.
Exactly. We love to talk the real world problem. We actually have a root cause detective that will challenge industry to throw us your toughest problem. We'll find the root cause for you for free. Just do a POC with us. We'll find the problem. We have accumulated several dozens of real world cases that with customers' permission, right? We can share many of them with your audience. We love to do that. There are a lot of war stories that we can share, and you'll find it very, very interesting.
Yeah, we look forward to that. Hey, Paul, thanks a lot for coming to the show at such short notice.
Congratulations, Paul. Congratulations.
So I'm gonna close the show with I found the dashboard on Uila's website, and this is I remember last time we talked about the product. This is the one thing that really impresses me, and just one look. I mean, green is good, yellow is an early warning, and orange and red, those are the things that you really should be. And by the way, I remember last time I asked Chachi, I said, what does Uila stands for? And I think you told me that is a Hawaiian word for lightning.
Yes.
Or electricity or something like that. But let me perhaps give you a different definition. And this is purely for the benefit of the audience, in case they're looking for united or unified interface to leverage the application. They should be looking at your company, right?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, with that, thanks again, Paul. Thanks, Chachi. Thanks, Tim. And so we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations, Paul. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hang on.
Bye-bye.